Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video and a brand new episode of my F1 2017 career mode. And after 130 episodes, the very first one where I'm not driving a Mercedes powered car, as we make our debut with the prancing horse in Ferrari here for the Hungaroring. And I'm looking forward to it. Going into this race, we have 80 plus points advantage over the nearest gun in the championship. So we've got time to adjust to this car because I'm going to need it, as I can already tell in advance. This car is very different to how the Williams is, and I'm going to need a race or two, or maybe even three, to really understand how that car works. But straight away, Friday practice gives you an idea of where the car was. I sort of struggled in various areas. Setup wise, I just ran default because I wanted to just see what the baseline of the car was like. I didn't want to change anything. And yeah, we sort of got a mixed session, a few good marks, a few bad marks. Overall, not a great session, but I had to do some testing to see what was right and what didn't work, and hopefully I've got a better idea of it going into the next race. But I want to show you guys the situation now going into this Grand Prix. You can see on screen right now, Force India brought some big upgrades for this one. They jumped up to the pack, and also Williams, the last upgrade I left them, actually jumped them into 4th place ahead of Mercedes for the first time in this career mode. So my last upgrade gave them a bit of a positive upgrade, and they've actually gained on us quite a bit now. Obviously, I'm starting with pretty much 0 resource points, so I've got to start putting some points away. This is the current R&D tree of Ferrari. You can see, unlike Williams, the durability side of things is very, very well developed. And Ferrari have only been using their first power unit up until this race, first/second power unit. So, incredibly reliable car, and they're also very well developed in all of the departments. So, it's looking very good. You can see this is the engine situation going into this race weekend. I did practice, and I'm going to switch my engines for qualifying and the race. But as you can see, Raikkonen was running power unit 1 for most of the season. He blew up his control electronics in one of the races, but you can see, it makes you realise the engine situation, how reliable this is compared to Williams, where I was already pushing my 4th unit, whereas Ferrari only just got rid of their first one. So yeah, pretty strange comparison and a pretty interesting contrast there between the two teams, but we've sort of settled in a bit now. We've got the engines sorted out. I know where I stand, and it's now time to push. First of all, small disclaimer, guys, the actual gloves and also the helmet, they won't remain the same. I'm going to probably change it for the next episode. If not the next one, then maybe for the Italian Grand Prix, but this is merely a placeholder for now until I get around to getting a better design. But anyway, qualifying time, Q1, very good. We go through in P9, nothing spectacular by any means. 1.3 off the pace off of my teammate in the same machine. A little bit concerning, but I knew I was going to be down on pace to Sebastian because I'm still getting used to this car. It's going to take a little while for me to get the grip to it. And in Q2, we go for the soft compound tyres, and overall looking pretty good. We got a pretty respectable lap time, and we also got rid of most of the fuel and sort of went for it a bit more. I wanted to lean on the tyres and really push the limits a bit, and we go P4 just ahead of Max Verstappen there on the same tyre, so very positive for us. And Verstappen just getting through, as do I, in 9th and 10th. Bottas missing out in P11 then, quite surprisingly, in the Mercedes car. But now in Q3, only one attempt because the rain was coming in the second half of the session, so we had to go early on, and I just went for it. You know what, I thought, I don't have a hell of a lot of confidence in the car, but I'm just going to see what happens. So I just literally threw into every single corner, straight away out of turn where you can see the back end there, just slipping out of me, and I can't really get it under control. As we now go into turn 3, really just trying to keep it nice and tight to the apex, pick up the traction as soon as you dare, and then throwing it through the right-hand kink flat out, and then you look for the brake zone into this over the crest of cambered left-hander. So far, we're at 10th up in sector 1, which was my strongest sector on the lap. The final sector is where I'm pretty poor, so we've got to try and gain the advantage over this first part of the lap as we now go into the chicane. 4th gear action, really throwing it in there and attacking the curbs, using all of the curbing on the exit as we now attack the next left-hander. Probably went a little bit too early in the apex there as we now fling it left through the next corner and then flat on the power again through the kink, and now this corner here, so much more speed than the Williams car, so much more downforce, and we go only a 10th down in sector 2. So far we're looking okay, but I know this final sector is not my strongest, so I'm going to have to really try and get it together here and throw it into this apex. I miss it a little bit though, look up on the left front, go a little bit wide, that's going to cost me a couple of tenths there. And now into the final corner, also a little bit wide on entry, as I would have preferred to be a little bit tighter to the wall on the right hand side, but still open up DRS and across the line, and we go 4th place at the time, and not a bad lap, I can't really complain too much. That was pretty much the best I could do. I still need to get used to the car, and eventually we would finish the session in P5. However, we are going to start the race from P4, and the big news is Sebastian Vettel's taking an engine penalty, which I'm going to presume might be for his control electronics. So he's going to take an engine penalty for tomorrow's race, so we're going to start from P4, and Sebastian is going to start from P10, I believe, or something like that. So yeah, that's the story of qualifying, but we're now going to move into Sunday for the race, and our first race in the Ferrari for this Hungarian Grand Prix. Okay, here we are then for race day at the Hungaroring, and we start from P4 on the grid after my teammate Sebastian Vettel and title rival got a penalty. Now, the team relationship, in my opinion, is not going to be great. I think there's going to be some tension there. Unlike with Massa, I'm not really going to want Vettel to do well because he is my championship rival. So there's definitely going to be some tension in the garage. But anyway, P4 on the grid, I'm still getting used to this car. It's completely different to how the Williams handles it. It's going to take me 1 or 2 or maybe 3 races to get used to this car because it just feels different from the ground up. There's so much more downforce. And it's just so weird to get used to it because the car grips up in places where the Williams just didn't grip up, and then vice versa, the Williams also had some things where the Ferrari just doesn't seem to be the same. So I can't really put my finger on it, but something doesn't feel the same. So it's going to take me a while to get used to it, and until then, we've got to make sure we do some damage limitation in the championship and make sure we lose the least amount of points as possible. But in terms of the race strategy today, we have a scheduled 1 stop. This is thanks you now to the new car, the Ferrari. Unlike the Williams, the tyre wear is a lot better in this car, so we can actually do a comfortable 1-stop strategy in this race. So I'm looking forward to it. On the fuel, we are very aggressive. 29.8 is what the allowance or what the fuel is in the car for this race. Essentially 5 laps under target. I'm going to boost it up a little bit because I'm not sure how much fuel this Ferrari drinks. I'm going to put it on 32 laps just to be safe. But anyway, we're going to jump into it now for the race of the Hungaroring. Second row of the grid. Let's see if we can jump into the top 3 or top 2 by turn 1. Right then, here we go. We're getting ready for the 5 red lights at Hungary. And it's lights out and away we go here. Brand new engine in the back of the car. We have a bit of a poor start. A lot of wheel spin. Vettel's trying to get on my inside here. I can see my mirrors, but no way through as we make our way down into turn 1 for the first time. Keeping our nose out of trouble if possible up the inside of the Force Indias. Traction on. And there we go. Nice exit speed out of turn 1. Ricciardo and Verstappen side by side, both of the Red Bulls here. And I believe they are both on the same tyre as me. No, they're not. Ricciardo's on the super softs. Verstappen is on the softs, the same as me. So Verstappen's the one we're really racing here. And we have to keep an eye on him as he's now going for the outside on Danny Rick. Is he going to make that move? I'm going to run very wide there as I get distracted. I'm going to try and get on the inside, but yellow flag. I've got to try and get past the yellow flag zone, which I have. Verstappen and Ricciardo still going side by side here. And Ricciardo is not giving this one up on his teammate. This is so close, and we just switch back underneath Verstappen there and slip through just about. And Ricciardo holds on to the lead of the race. So second place, good start to the Grand Prix. Oh wow, Sebastian stopped on the radio. He's out of the race. Sebastian Vettel, my main championship contender, out of the Hungarian Grand Prix. I don't know what's happened there. We'll have to check it out. There you go, confirmation on the screen. We're going to have to check that one out on a replay. But Vettel out of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and that is going to mean massive amounts for the championship. And I could actually go 100 points clear of him after this race, depending on where I finish. But right now, P2, Ricciardo leads the way on super softs. Let's see what our pace is like. And we've definitely got to try and go for the race win now to secure that major points benefit. Also, a small side note, the gloves and the helmet aren't exactly spot on yet, the way they look. I just had to do a bit of a placeholder design for now because I didn't really have time to do them, so I've been very busy lately. Hopefully for the next race, if I'm lucky, I'll try and get a new design on there. If not, then it'll be for Monza, which will be the race after this one, I believe. So just a small disclaimer there, in case anyone notices in the comments, because the gloves are like a little bit lighter than what they should be, which I'm not really sure why that's happened, so I have to sort of look into it. And also the helmet colours are all off at the moment. There we go, we respond to Ricciardo as we set a fastest lap of our own. We've left Verstappen behind, and we are now starting to put the pressure on Danny Rick here in the lead Red Bull. So let's see if we can try and get past him anytime soon and try and line up a pass. I get very close to Ricciardo over the lap, but then in this final sector is where I lose a little bit of ground. The AI are a little bit strong through here, and I just can't quite keep up, especially because I think this corner here and the one before, the traction zones are just really hurting me bad. And on this tyre as well, I'm definitely suffering a little bit more than what I should be, but we're a little bit closer than what happened in past laps. I matched my personal best. We gain a hell of a lot on the straights, by the way. We are so fast. I could almost have a go into turn 1, maybe, if I'm a whisker closer next time round. My straight line speed is really good. So let's see. We are very close to Ricciardo now, and we are knocking on the door. So I think any second this pass could happen. A little bit close to this lap, getting a pretty shoddy exit though, out of the final corner. Back end stepped out of me, but we're gaining a lot of momentum on Ricciardo here. I'm going to go for the look into turn 1. I'm very hard on the brakes though. I've got to try and pull it back up, and we have a little bit of contact on the exit there. Another bit of contact again, and I'm not really sure whose fault that was. I felt like I come onto the racing line fairly evenly there. I didn't really come across Ricciardo's path. He had more than enough from on the inside to avoid me, but although we've taken first place quite nicely from Danny Rick, and we're now leading the Hungarian Grand Prix. I think Ricciardo's in trouble. I think he might have front wing damage because Verstappen and Ocon have both gone past him. So Ricciardo definitely struggling with his car, unless he's got some sort of other problem, because he has dropped off of the pace quite dramatically. Either way, we are now really leading here at the front, and we're setting some good pace. Only a couple of tenths off my personal best. Tyre wear wise, we're doing okay. A little bit harder than I expected, but still doing absolutely fine. My main concern is my control electronics, which is pushing 70%, but I have to get it through this race so I can sort of get a bit more in sync with the engines on this car. I'm starting to really get a good feel for the car now as we set another fastest lap, 119.1. It's taken a while. In areas the car feels a little bit weird because I feel like I can push it, but when I do, it doesn't work. It's a really odd feeling. It's like the car feels like it's got more to give, and you know, there's a reason why it's the best car, because it feels good. And I feel like I'm driving at 50%, but when I try to go above that, I'm going slower and I'm struggling. So it's a bit of an odd one, bit of a weird balance. I'm starting to understand it now. Sort of underdriving the car and driving it a bit slower does definitely help. So so far it's going okay for me as I take a big chunk out of the corner exit there. First track extend warning of the Grand Prix, but so far we're looking very good. Verstappen can't match my lap times. Looks like a change for second place is about to happen as Ocon is trying to get past Verstappen. Ocon would be a little bit more of a threat, a little bit more straight line speed and general pace. Right now Perez is setting the fastest laps of the Grand Prix. He's really flying around this circuit. He could potentially be someone we might find ourselves on the one-stop strategy, and he might be on the 2, so he might be ahead of me when I come out of the pit stops or in a couple of laps time. Right, Esteban Ocon comes in. We are only a tenth shy of our personal best, and we're coming in next lap, so we're looking very, very good so far. I've got the gap to Verstappen now over 5 seconds, and he's the man on the same strategy as me. So right now it's all very much under control, give or take what I expected when I signed for Ferrari, because I knew I'd have the car for it. This race has gone better than I expected though, in the sense of obviously Vettel's not here, so it's been a much easier job. Also I qualified on this tyre because I wanted to have a bit of more of a consistent baseline and a bit of a safer strategy in the race, so a bit more of a guarantee that I still have a good result. But now that I know how this car is and how the tyres work, I can definitely go more aggressive in Q2 and be more aggressive in the opening stints of the race, and maybe use a compound softer. And even if that means doing an extra stop, I'm willing to do that because I feel like I can now start to push this car a bit, especially at tracks where I think this car will be really competitive, like Spa and Monza. I think it's worth pointing out Verstappen's also just come in, so he's fallen 1 lap short of the predictable target on that soft compound tyre, but keep an eye out for him obviously at the end of this lap when we come in. Right then, it's been a very, very good first stint. Tyres super consistent. The car is super consistent as well. Just a completely different story to the Williams. But here we go into the pit lane. Going to push the entry a bit. A little bit of understeer. Just turn the wheel a bit more than I should do. Now we've got to look for the speed limiter. Make sure we don't speed. There we go. Nice and comfortable. And now we're going to come in for a set of the medium compound tyres. And hopefully we should be able to get this to the end. No problems asked. Unlike with the Williams car. 2.5 stop. Pretty average. We could get obviously the sub 2 second ones, but that's where the core competency upgrades really come into effect. We've got a yellow flag into turn 1. I wonder if Bottas might have had an issue. He's just passed me. I'll have to wait out. We'll have to see and find out in a moment. But here we go, rejoining. We've got a couple of cars behind who are battling. I'm going to guess one of them's Verstappen, but Bottas is out of the race. There he is on the left hand side. Bottas out of the Grand Prix, so he joins Vettel in the retirements and VSC deployed. So there you go. Pretty annoying. We couldn't have had that literally 30 seconds earlier, but either way, I'm not going to complain. That's could have been a lot worse with maybe a full safety car, especially because I just came in for this tyre. Okay, race back underway. Green flag conditions. VSC come in, luckily just in time, so that no one could come in and ruin my strategy. We've got Palmer just behind battling with Massa, but we are now on these fresh mediums, so let's crack on with it and let's try and bring this one home. Lance Stroll comes in, the man who replaced me at Williams, so he's actually beaten Massa at the moment in this race, and he's into the pit lane off of his 1 stop. Massa has to stay out for another lap, so let's see what happens with the Williams cars. Let's see where they finish, but right now we are on a net race lead rather comfortably. Perez, like I said, the man that we might find ourselves having to overtake is going to be the man that we're going to have to try and pass here. There we go, personal best 18.7. We are slowly reeling in Perez here. I think Perez and Massa are on 2-stop strategies. I think Massa, I do remember him setting the fastest lap earlier on, so I think he must have come in as did Perez, because right now I'm doing personal best, but our pace is pretty much the same. Perez was actually a little bit faster than me on that last lap, so right now we're in no rush. I'm not going to force myself to overtake Perez. I need to keep these tyres and make sure I get to the end of the race, so no need to rush this at all. Really struggling to switch this tyre on. I mean, I feel good. I'm just matched my personal best pretty much, but Perez is still pulling away and Massa's catching me. Okay, Perez and Massa have now come in. Even though their pace was still very good, they're going to come in, but they're going to be fast in this last stint because they're going to go into like super softs, I'm going to guess. Or, I mean, at best, softs, but they're going to be very quick. I've got Ocon and Verstappen back behind me now, and those two are both on the mediums, and that's going to be a bit more of a level playing field. But look at that on the mini-map, you can see Perez and Massa are going to rejoin in clean air in 4th and 5th. So if they're on super softs, they could be a threat towards the end of this Grand Prix because these mediums haven't really worked for none of us. Neither for me, Ocon, or Verstappen. Oh wow, 17.5 from Perez. That's pretty damn quick. I mean, I'm struggling to do an 18. Our last up was in the 1 minute 19, so Perez really getting the hammer down in that Force India. We'll see where this goes. Also, tyre wear is a little bit higher on these tyres than I expected, so we're sort of having to nurse these at the moment. We've got a yellow flag here because Alonso, I believe, just retired from the Grand Prix, and there he is on the left-hand side, so Alonso out of this race. This is a really odd one because I'm like half a second easily off my personal best. Yet I feel like I'm pushing quite a lot. In terms of Verstappen and Ocon, they're still even slower than me yet. So it seems like we're all lapping slower on fresh mediums than we did in our worn softs / super soft. So really curious one this. Perez pumps in another 17.5. I tell you what, he's catching Verstappen and Ocon very easily here. He could be a real threat at the end of this race. Okay, that's better. We matched an 18.6 at lap, or pretty much an 18.7. But it looks like everyone else is improving because Ocon's just gone even faster than me on that last lap. The gap's now inside 5 seconds, so everyone seems to be finding a little bit of pace at the minute. Whether that's for track conditions, I'm not really sure, but everyone seems to be improving their lap times. Control electronics is really starting to get worn now, 77%. And I've got to be careful because this could go at any second. I just need to get to the end of the Grand Prix. This was on 66% when I started the race, I believe, so it's worn so much, this track. I didn't really realise how much it uses the curves. I sort of underestimated it, to be honest, so we're paying the price for it. In other news, Perez is on the move, P3 now. He's hunting down his teammate. Still 5 whole laps to go here. He could still maybe catch me. I don't think he's going to pass me, but he could get very close. I think I'm going to have to start taking it a bit easier. I'm going to have to give up some track time because I feel like this control electronics could just go pop at any second. And once you go above 75%, you're in the range of having an engine failure, so we have to be careful. Perez sets the fastest lap, which is absolutely ridiculous, but I need to try and lay off the curbs as much as I can, which means I'm going to have to give up some lap time because I really need the curbs around here to try and find some lap time. Then Ocon and Perez are going side by side at the moment, and yet Perez has made the move on Ocon with 4 laps to go. Perez is into P2. He could actually catch me and be a real threat here. I've got to sort of make a choice whether I just want to go for it and try and push to the max, or still remain conservative and try and lay off the curbs. I don't know what to do. Oh wow, 17.3. Perez is really putting the pressure on now. Tyres are on about 40% wear. They've worn out a bit more than I expected. Control electronics on 80%. I'm really getting into a danger zone now. I've got to be so careful. But Perez is right behind me now. Right into the final corner for the final time. Or sorry, the penultimate time. We're going to start the last lap of the Grand Prix. I've got to be so careful to not touch the curbs. Perez is going to be very close though. I'm going to have to go with the offensive here. Perez with DRS has got some incredible straight line speed. I'm going to have to try and hold this on the braking. Do I have any tyres? I'll lock up on the right front. I'm going to send Perez out wide. I'll lose the back end a little bit, but we've held on. We've held on to it for now, and we still remain in first place. Okay, final few corners. I just got to try and lay off the curbs. It's impossible to not completely touch them because this is the natural racing line. But I've got to lay off inside and outside curbs. Perez is so close. Losing the back end a bit. Got to just cover off the inside and after the final corner to make sure he doesn't have a look. Through the final corner now on the power up to the line, and we are going to win our debut with Ferrari, and we just survived. Perez right at the end there went for the move, and the engine, I don't know how it held on, but that control electronics, we lost about 16% on that very race. So very scary indeed. But that was so much more than I expected. But we pulled through, we survived, and we pick up a 25 points when Sebastian Vettel missed out on a top 10 finish. So really good race for us. Debut win in red, as you can see there, and top step of the podium. Don't get used to something, guys. It is going to change for the next race, if not then from Monza. But overall, I can't complain. Very good race for us, and I'd say a well-deserved 25 points for dominating the race. There is Felipe Massa, a former teammate in P5. Very good race for him, actually, P5. That's a very good performance in that Williams car. But as you can see, onto the podium now, and we are at the very top step of the podium, joined by two finest of the Pink Panthers there. But we take maximum points today in the Hungaroring, and we are going to go with full momentum and a lot of positive energy into the Belgian Grand Prix, which is going to be the next race and my personal favourite track on the calendar. But anyway, the champagne sprays away, and we are now going to transition over to the final race results, drivers and constructors standings. So looking at the final race results, we win the Hungarian Grand Prix ahead of Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon. Max Verstappen gets P4 in the Red Bull there ahead of Felipe Massa and the returning Lance Stroll in P6. Stoffel Van Dorn in a phenomenal P7 from McLaren there, and Romain Grosjean also in a very good 8th place, and Palmer also in a very good 9th for Renault, with Hulkenberg running out a top 10. Hamilton misses out by finishing in P12 on a 2-stop strategy, and further down the order you can see Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas and Fernando Alonso all retiring from the Grand Prix. But in terms of the driver standings, you can see we are 82 points clear of Sergio Perez and 107 points clear of Sebastian Vettel going into Spa. Kimi Räikkönen, you can see there, greyed out because he is now out of the Ferrari seat thanks to me arriving here. And in terms of the constructors, you can see we remain in 3rd place, 6 points behind Force India, who have actually overtaken us this race, and Williams still remain the outright leaders in the constructors. But other than that, guys, that's going to be for this episode of Career Mode. Obviously, no R&D points to make any upgrades, as we need to put some points away. But anyway, hope you have enjoyed this episode, guys, of the Career Mode. If you have, then please do leave a like on the video. Let's try and smash 200 likes for my debut in the Ferrari. And also do subscribe to the channel if you're new around here for daily Formula 1 and Moto GP18 content. And also do turn notifications to not miss a single upload from me. And finally, check out these 2 videos if you have missed them. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye.